Hi everybody, how's it going? This is the second part to my class matchup overview, whatever you want to call it, series. This is just going to be a pretty basic overview going into Succession Berserker in this instance. I've already done my Awakening Warrior one, and the goal is to try to cover as many classes as possible, classes that are useful for people to learn how to fight, classes that actually do have a point in learning how to fight, etc, etc, etc. So with that said, I'm going to be starting out. As I'm going through, I'm going to be covering, since this is a succession and I don't have bond skills to go through, which make things, or core skills to go through, which make things a lot easier. I'm going to be covering the protected succession skills. I'm going to be talking about mobility and options they have, and then I'll also be going into how to try to counterplay the openings and gaps that Succession Berserker has in his playstyle. So, starting off straight off the bat, the biggest part about Berserker that I do want most people to learn, and especially Succession Berserker, is that Berserker has 2 grabs on Succession. With Awakening Spec, they technically have 3, I believe, with their Shift E, this one right here. But Succession only has 2. Those grabs are Smackdown and Rock Smash. Rock Smash is a hotbar grab, and Smackdown is just a base E grab. As for Undertaker, previously, prior to the reboots that happened a few months ago over in May, while I was working at PA at the time, Undertaker was a 3rd grab and a 3rd option for them. But as of the reboots, this is now purely a extension option for them. It just makes their grabs longer, essentially. So if you've ever seen a Berserker grab where it just gets longer and longer, they do the triple spin into the air smash, that is basically what Undertaker is. So, yeah. As for the grabs themselves, these are what the fail animations look like. I'm going to be showing you guys the defense icons while I do this, so you can see how fast they have a fail animation on these. Smackdown is an extremely long fail animation, so if the Berserker fails his E-grab animation on Smackdown, you can see it. You won't really see it, sorry. It is pretty quick, and that one looks like this. It is pretty quick. You can kind of see it. Most players, I think, once they have a bit more experience in the matchup, it is something that you can notice, but it is not something that you can really easily punish unless you're a pretty experienced player. As for Rock Smash is a very long fail animation, and that one looks like this. You can see how long it takes me to go into protection after. It's a massive headbutt animation, and it is one of their biggest gaps, especially when they fail it. As for timings, at most Berserkers at lower or just average levels, I guess you would say, I don't know why I'm saying lower, at an average level, honestly, 99% of suck Zerks, to be honest, even like good ones, even myself when I was playing AOS, they do this a lot. Lava Piercer is one of Berserker's main abilities, both for Succession and Awakening. Succession gets a Prime version, so this is Lava Piercer and Prime Lava Piercer. Succession Berserker technically has 2, since these are on separate cooldowns. Regardless, we'll go into that later. The reason I'm bringing this up is because the average way a Berserker is going to use their grab is they're going to do something like Lava Piercer, and then they're going to try and grab you at the end of it, something like that. That is how they would typically do with their E-grab. Now, unfortunately, since Rock Smash is a hotbar grab and not a clean input grab like E, hotbar abilities typically have to wait until the previous skill that they use ended. So in this instance, they have to wait for Lava Piercer to end before they can use Headbutt. I'm spamming it this whole time, and you can see it takes a while for the ability to end to use it. So most Berserkers are not going to use Headbutt out of Lava Piercer. Instead, the way Headbutt is generally used is in a couple of instances. For one, Berserkers can use it out of other mobility options, such as Predatory Hunt, which I'll cover later, and then they can grab immediately after the first hit of that. They can do that with their E-grab and their Headbutt grab. Not quite at the same speed, but it is still technically an option. The second instance that a lot of Berserkers will use Rock Smash and E-grab out of is WF. This is another mobility option that, again, we'll go into. I just want to cover these now. That mobility option looks like this. Sorry, not Shift F. This one. You've seen this dash around a lot of times. It is a frontal guard off cooldown, and if you guys have experience fighting Succession Berserker, you know this ability desyncs a lot. So what they can do is they can do this dash, for example. Let me get my stamina back real quick. And then they will do like a dash into a grab. And then they could do the same thing with their E-grab as well. And then finally, the third and really basic option, this is also the fastest one for Rock Smash that most Berserkers will use out of a grab, is their Evasion iframe shake off. This one right here that I've been using a little bit. So they can do something like just shake off into a grab. So shake off, grab, just like that. Keep in mind that since they use the iframe version to dash towards you, this is going to be unprotected. So for example, shake off, grab, they are now unprotected. And then their option afterwards, they can use shake off, so they're going to go into a super armor. So that's essentially how most Berserkers are going to be using their grabs on this class. And with that said, now that the grabs are out of the way, oh sorry, also Corpse Storm. My bad, I forgot to mention that. I think I mentioned Undertaker earlier for the grab option previously. It is actually Corpse Storm. I'm sorry about that. Corpse Storm. If you want to see how the E grab extensions work, this is how they work. When you do Smackdown, essentially by holding RMB, you're going to do the Corpse Storm spin. This is this spin animation right here. This is Corpse Storm. And then that is going to drop them. If they want to do the air version where they do the little leap at the end, that is called Undertaker. That's when you hit spacebar at the end, and then they'll take you in the air and they can extend it even longer. This also works the same way for Rock Smash. It is Rock Smash into Corpse Storm into Undertaker. Keep in mind, Undertaker, while it has no cooldown, Rock Smash, Corpse Storm, and Smackdown do. So if they've used a Smackdown grab on you, for example, or a Rock Smash grab on you, let's say they use Smackdown, and then they use Corpse Storm, they cannot use Corpse Storm again for another extended grab when they do their Rock Smash grab. So if I do Rock Smash grab now, oh, and I, okay, all right. I don't know how to edit. I'm too lazy to video edit, so we're just going to pretend that didn't happen, and I'm not even going to bother cutting it. If I do a Rock Smash grab now, while my Corpse Storm is on cooldown, I'll do Undertaker, then it's just to show you what that looks like. This is Undertaker. No cooldown again. This is also a +8 melee AP buff, so they get a little bit of a damage increase. If I do my Rock Smash grab now, as so, you can see I'm going to hold RMB. I'm holding RMB, nothing's coming out. It's because that is on cooldown. So it's a bit nifty to know in 3v3 scenarios, knowing when and at what times your teammates can and cannot get extended, and even yourself in your grab if you want when you're deciding when you want to V during a Berserker grab. So next up, I want to talk about their protected mobility. I'm going to mention mobility first because it ties into the protected CCs, since those have different interactions based off what they're using. So, starting off, let's just quickly talk about Succession Berserker's passives and how this also relates to his mobility. He just has a shit ton of HP and DR. He also has some base accuracy rates, which is pretty nice for them. These are the HP passives. They get plus 250 HP base. This applies to Awakening and Succession, and then Succession also gets an extra 350 HP. On top of that, as for the unique Succession passive, something that was added during reboots, they get something called Beast Mode, or Unstoppable Beast. Now, this is technically their E-buff, or not their E-buff, sorry. It's just an extra ability. This is their E-buff. But what Unstoppable Beast does is that this applies now to multiple skills. You will go into Bestial Rage when you're using skills such as Predatory Hunt. This will put you into Beast Mode. That is SF, so you now have it for 20 seconds. You can get it when you're using your C, the actual Unstoppable Beast. And then this also will give you a plus recover 2% HP per 2 seconds for 20 seconds on top of 30% critical hit rate. A massive stat line pad increase. And then next to that, you can also get into it by using Fearsome Tyrant. This is the 100% version of Fearsome Tyrant. This is what their 100% looks like. It is a multi-hit stun, large AoE. You've probably seen it in Node Wars or something if you guys have ever fought a Succession Berserker. And this will also put you into Bestial Rage. And then outside of that, you also have your E-buff, which is a quick slot only. So you're going to be seeing them using like quick slot. And then that is that. What the E-buff does, it gives them plus 20 DP, plus 50% resistance, plus 3% critical hit rate, plus 20% movement speed. And on top of all that, you also get the HP increase and regeneration benefits of Unstoppable Beast, which again are 2 to 2.5% HP every 2 or 1 seconds for 20 seconds, depending on how you are entering your beast form. So again, a massive stat pad line. Now, talking about the rest of the skills, oh, sorry. I was looking at this and then I forgot. Technically, you can also go into Beast Mode using, which one of the? Beast Roar, Wrath of the Beast, and Hire the Beast. That is Wrath, Ire, and Beast Roar. The thing is, the reason I'm not really covering these is because these aren't really used to go into beast mode too often. You're not going to be seeing Zerkers in the middle of an AOS match or in the middle of your 1v1 using these to go into beast mode. If a Zerker's trying to go into beast mode, he's going to use Predatory Hunt, he's going to use his C ability, he's going to use Shift Q. These are the skills they're primarily going to use, so these aren't really too worth covering. As for what these abilities actually do themselves, I'll cover them probably later. Okay, now, talking about his mobility in relation to beast mode, this is what I want to try to get to. When it comes to Succession Zerker's mobility, it's a little bit unique. His primary movement abilities are Lava Piercer, which he has 2 different cooldowns for. So, for example, he can do 1 Lava Piercer into a 2nd Lava Piercer. And you can see the second one was a little bit shorter in the Prime version, but it gets a little bit tricky. Because now, once Succession Zerker goes into Beast Mode, which he can access through various different means, such as Predatory Hunt, the second that he does Lava Piercer into Predatory Hunt, he gets a massive dash distance in mobility. So this is one of his primary movement engages is Predatory Hunt. Predatory Hunt itself is a protected CC. I'll cover that ability once again in detail later. But not only does Predatory Hunt get a kind of change in how it works, so does the Prime Lava Piercer. So, for example, if I'm in Beast Mode, this is the regular Predator or Lava Piercer. It is the same distance, I believe, as the base Lava Piercer. But then, the Prime version of the Lava Piercer also gets a bit more of an extended range compared to the non-Beast Mode version. It is a little bit tricky, it is a little bit weird to think about, but that is how it works. If you haven't noticed already as well, Lava Piercer is a complete super armor movement mobility, meaning there is no gaps for you to punish here. This is purely a damage check, and I highly do not recommend trying to grab this ability since you are going to get desynced. When you're moving this ability, you're full super armor. You can instantly extend into another Lava Piercer, you're full super armor, and then on top of that you have other movement options, such as WF, which is their Tackling Rock. This is another movement ability you've probably seen a lot of the time. Sorry, when they're in Beast Mode and you're using this out of Lava Piercer. So, for example, if I do Lava Piercer into Tackling Rock, you can see I'm going to get some extended distance on a faster speed. Boom, boom. Farther distance. Tackling Rock has no CC attached to it. It is Frontal Guard. It's not really used as a damage ability. It's purely generally a movement speed ability. It does have a minus 30% movement speed debuff on it, but this is not really used too often. If they want to get a slow debuff on you, they'd rather use the other abilities. So, this is not really a skill you need to worry about in your neutral game too much for it being dangerous or harmful to you, except for when I mentioned earlier they can use it as a very fast engage for a grab. So a lot of Zerkers can do something like, I'm going to go over to the dummies to make this a bit easier for you guys to see, and you guys can watch the movement as I go over here on how strong it is. The way this works is that they can do Lava Piercer and Attacking Rocket straight into a grab. So for example, boom. They can instantly grab you at any point straight out of the Tackling Rock. And on top of that, Tackling Rock is also mouse movable, which makes it a lot harder to deal with because they can do something like this. And when they are doing that mouse movement on your screen, the opposing Zerker, you will not be able to tell which direction they're going. So if a Zerker does this to you, and then you see them go in one direction, and then all of a sudden they're appearing and teleporting in the other, it is because they are mouse moving this ability called Tackling Rock. Lava Piercer can also do this, especially at higher ping levels, depending on how much movement speed you also have. So it gets crazier and crazier and crazier and crazier. Now, since we're finally kind of done through the basic mobility, which are Predatory Hunt, Lava Piercer, and Tackling Rock, we can go into their CCs, movement-related options now. A lot of Zerkers, actually, vast majority of Succession Zerkers, protected CCs or general CC catch options are also tied to their mobility. So, for example, as I mentioned earlier, Predatory Hunt. Predatory Hunt originally on the rework release for Succession Zerker was extremely overpowered because it was a CC on nearly every single hit. So if I do this for you guys really quickly, Predatory Hunt, this is 1, 2, 3, 4. And it was multi-hit, especially on the last hits of Abound. However, this ended up getting nerfed because it was too OP, and now, the way Predatory Hunt works on that last explosion attack hit, is that it is only a CC on... Wait for it. That last landing, the very last landing. Not the explosion, not anything else, just that little bit of landing there. So getting CC'd by Predatory Hunt is, as a CC, as a catch itself, is not really something that will happen to you too often. If it does happen to you, that is quite unfortunate, since it is very, very small, just that little landing right there. And it looks like the animation is in the CC is a lot bigger, but it's really not. It's pretty small from what I know. So, yeah. As for how Predatory Hunt works, as you're seeing it out of Lava Piercer, that is not actually how the main ability works. They can also do multiple hops at a smaller tempo. So, for example, if a Berserker just does SF without Predatory Hunt, or sorry, without Lava Piercer, they can just do 1, 2, 3, 4 hops. Just these little hops like this. A lot of Berserkers you're not going to see use this too often unless they really quickly need some SA protection and they're running out of stuff to use. You might see some Berserkers use this in neutral game. It is not something you need to be too afraid of. Technically, they can exit out of it early, so don't think that they're going to be stuck in this 4-hop animation the entire time. A Berserker can do something like this, so they can do 1, 2, and immediately grab you. So you do have to be afraid of this. However, Predatory Hunt, in general, when they're doing it like that, is potentially a grab option for you. This is one of the first punishes that is available only for grab classes, unfortunately. So if you are a grab class and the Berserker you're fighting is not desyncing too hard, as I say, it's a grab option and a punish option. You can see I'm sarcastically adding a lot of bullshit to it to make you understand that it is not a actual really easy and viable grab option. Basically, when they're moving around and they're mouse moving, they're going to desync a lot. However, these hops, when they do land, if you do have really precise timing, if you're on a class that can get close without being too risky, and if you're a class that has a very fast and wide AoE grab, such as Ranger, Warrior, another Berserker, etc., then it is potentially a punish option. It does take a lot of experience. I recommend practicing it before you try to go for something like that. But yeah. Finally, the last one I want to add to Predatory Hunt as one of their main skills that they're going to use against you in PvP. It is a minus 30% movement speed slow. So, keep in mind that if you are going to try to go for a grab option, punish on it, or if you're going to try to chip out the Berserker while they're using Predatory Hunt, which I do recommend, this is a good timing for you guys to try and damage trade the Berserker since they don't get a lot of damage out of the first initial hits on this ability. It does have a massive slow on the ending explosion, the big one that you see towards the end. They cannot enter that last explosion without either doing it originally out of Lava Piercer, like this, or without doing all 4 hops in the base version to finally get to the end. So, that's why I said, like earlier, most Berserkers are going to use this out of Lava Piercer and go straight into the last explosion. But yes, the last explosion is a 30% movement speed slow, and it does have quite a decent bit of damage depending on their gear values in comparison to yours. So, personally, as a ninja player myself, and some other rat classes may be watching this video that feel like, oh, I get slowed by Berserker a lot, it's a pain in the ass. This is an ability I tend to try to frontal guard, especially on the ending explosion. So when I see a Berserker coming out of Lava Piercer and he's going to use this, I will try to frontal guard this last explosion because I do not want to eat that slow. It gives you a massive, massive disadvantage. Now that we've covered Predatory Hunt, we can move on to the other protected movement speed, protected movement, CC, catch, etc. skills. The next I wanted to talk about was Weakling Hunt. Weakling Hunt is a plus 15 DP buff when using the skill, so it is not on hit. And during Beast Mode, this ability is a knockback. It is not a knockback. It does go through frontal guards, I believe, still. I'm trying to remember. I believe it still does go through frontal guards, yes. Yeah, I don't think they ever nerfed that. So the way this essentially works is that Weakling Hunt can be used at any point in the neutral game. They can just simply hit Weakling Hunt. It is a knockback skill, and they can immediately grab after it. They can immediately float you after it. They can immediately KD you after it. There's a lot of options that they have out of this. As you can see, boom, KD. So it is a pretty strong CC option, especially in the neutral game. Especially because it is also a movement-based frontal guard, so during a lot of instances, it can be quite difficult to try to CC the Berserker as they're in this, unless you have a class like Megu or something that has a lot of wide AoE range CC skills that can get behind an opponent's frontal guard. So in that instance, this is a pretty good punish for you as a player if you're fighting a Succession Berserker. And this ability is typically combined in rotation with Lava Piercer, so they can do something like this. They can do their Predatory Hunt. Predatory Hunt. They can go into the explosion. They can move around, and then they can come and try to pressure you with this Weakling Hunt and keep spam turning the frontal guard knockback skill spam on you. And keep in mind, they don't have to do all 2 hits. They can simply just do 1 hit and then immediately bail out into another protected skill. So it is a pretty smallish gap and something hard to punish for the vast majority of classes. However, if you are fighting this class, it is something that you really need to keep in mind. It is one of the most important neutral game skills that you need to look to ideally try to punish, especially if you are a class that can somehow hit behind them. And so, yeah. Please, 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 if you're fighting a Berserker, keep an eye out for the skill. It is one of their biggest gaps. Now, next up, after Weakling Hunt, the next skill I wanted to talk about was Prime Beastly Wind Slash. This is a skill that they combine in rotation with Weakling Hunt. The way Beastly Wind Slash works is that in a normal neutral, when they just use it, it is not protected. It is a float-on hit. And as you can see, it says forward guard when used after Lava Piercer or Prime Lava Piercer. So the skill also, on top of that, gives a plus 20% movement speed buff and a minus 20 DP buff. So it is a very important skill, not only for their neutral game, also for their combos. Occasionally, they're not really using it too often in actual protected combos, but it's something that you can maybe get out for a DP debuff, kind of. But in the terms of the neutral game, this is very important for them, because what they can do is, as it says, after Prime Lava Piercer, they can do Beastly Wind Slash, and then it's a frontal guard, right? And it's also a movement speed, a movement-based frontal guard that also gives a movement speed buff, so it makes everything faster. It's a key part of the rotation, and it's also a big punish gap that you can try to look for. And right after Beastly Wind Slash, what a lot of Berserkers will do is they'll immediately then go into Weakling Hunt. So if you've ever seen the I sit on your face, I'm going to spam bullshit at you Berserker rotation, this is basically what they're going to do to you. They're going to come at you, they're going to do Beastly Wind Slash, Weakling Hunt, and they're just going to try to CC check you out of your super armor or get some damage on you. That is going to be something you're going to see a lot of Berserkers do. But you might think, oh, well, isn't that kind of risky since they are kind of, you know, they're frontal guard based and they're just rotating around you like this with frontal guards? Yes, it is risky, and that's kind of the point, is that you want to try to look at this as a gap. But don't think that it is a free CC. You would be very deceived if this is a free CC. A lot of Berserkers can space this out to kind of keep their spacing, make it hard for you to get behind them. And even then, if you try to turn around on them and move behind them while they're doing this, they can always just instantly turn their frontal guard. There's no delay on this camera turn. It is instant, follows their camera pretty much the entire time. So be careful while you're looking at it, but make sure this is something that you look for. Now that we've covered these frontal guard CC options and the general stuff, the next thing I want to talk about is Fierce Strike. The way Fierce Strike works, and you've probably seen this is their R&B claw skill. Generally, this is also technically a protected CC. It is a floating attack on 1 hit, and it does 4 hits. However, this is not really something that is used too often in the neutral game. They can kind of use it for some damage, but it is a lot riskier than using something like Weakling Hunt or Beastly Wind Slash, because it is so stationary, and it's a lot harder to protect yourself as a Berserker while you're using this. So instead, the way that is typically used, especially in larger scale scenarios, is it is used something like this. You're going to get a CC on a player. This is a bound PvE, so I don't know why that applied. That's a bit weird. What they can do is something like this. They can do something like, oh, I can get a Weakling Hunt and then immediately float you with the RMB and go straight into my damage rotation. That is something that generally they can actually try to use it as. It can be used as a secondary CC during any point. So, for example, they can do something like a full grab, go something like this, and then they can boom and then go in and damage you. Something like that. That is always an option. After Fierce Strike, then this is, oh, sorry, keep in mind also this is a minus DP debuff. This is why you don't really use Beastly Wind Slash in combos. You want to prioritize Fierce Strike. It is a minus 20 DP debuff. So this is one of their bigger gaps that I would try to look for, especially in group play. If a Berserker has your teammate CC'd, this is your opportunity to try and get them. It is very similar to the Warrior video I made previously, where essentially, oh, the Berserker has my teammate CC'd, he's in a grab. Okay, as he's coming out of this grab, and then he's going to go into the next CC, he's going to try to get a frontal guard off, and that is kind of a small window that I can try to look for. Speaking of small windows to try and look for as a secondary CC, right after Fierce Strike, we then also have Ancient Wave, which is another protected CC. you know, playing this class and talking about this class as a person that plays a class with only one protected CC does annoy me quite a bit sometimes, because this is so far a lot of protected CCs we've seen so far. But oh, it's frontal guard. No, it doesn't matter, right? It is a lot of protection, a lot of options that this class has, and it makes it very hard to play against. So this is things that you really need to keep in mind when you're fighting Berserker, is that you're going to be running into a lot of these problems, but you just kind of have to persevere through it and kind of look for these small scenarios. Ancient Wave is basically Fear Strike, except it is a KD and a ranged option. So Fear Strike is a Claw Strike, then Ancient Wave is another Claw Strike, but it's just ranged. The AoE on this ability is actually pretty massive. It goes pretty wide. You can almost think of it as a really long rectangle, something like this, about this area, I would say. And it is multiple hits. It is 7 hits. It is forward guard before the attack hits, and it is forward guard fully in beast form. So technically, if they use a skill outside of beast form, like this, it is going to be a slow charge, 1, and then 2, it is going to be unprotected on the cast. This is how the Awakening version works. However, because you are in beast form, it is going to be fully protected throughout, and then it is also going to be an instant cast. You're not going to have that leeway and that downtime where they're charging up to try and punish it. If you're familiar with Awakening Berserker and you looked at Succession Berserker and thought it was the same, it is not. It is literally an instant cast. And on top of that, immediately after the Ancient Wave, they can immediately go into another protection skill, such as Lava Piercer, such as Predatory Hunt, such as Weakling Hunt. They have a lot of instant rotation options right after. So if you want to see what that looked like, for example, they can do boom and then go straight into SA. So it is not really it's a massive gap, something I can crazy look for. It is, again, something similar to Fear Strike, where it is a very small thing, and you kind of need to be already pressuring them while they're using it for you to get a catch, or you need to kind of predict it ahead of time when they're going to use it to get the catch. Now that we've talked about a lot of this stuff, I'm going to show you guys generally what the main combo looks like, and then I'll talk about actual damage abilities and stuff in the rotation. Oh, actually, I did miss Fearsome Tyrant. Let me talk about this one first. Sorry. I do this stuff without no notes, if you guys don't know. I don't actually literally pull up anything. I don't put notes on my side. I don't put anything. I just kind of go through it and go straight off my knowledge. And if there is anything that I do miss, I try to include it at the end or in the description down below. So if I do miss anything, please make sure you guys go and check there. Fearsome Tyrant is one of their main neutral skill abilities. I showed it earlier. The 100% version, what it looks like. The actual neutral version, what it looks like, is just a singular hit stun like that they can instantly iframe out of. You can actually do it a lot earlier. This skill is very important in their neutral game, since it is one of their only kind of really OP 360 AoE CCs. In BDO, 360 AoE protected CCs with super armors are one of the strongest in the game. Sorry, and this is also a stun on top of that, which makes it a lot stronger, since stuns are the second longest CC in the game after KD. If this was a float, if this was a bound, if this was a stiffen, it would be a lot weaker than it is. But due to it being a stun, they can do a lot of really fast and cheesy engages with this. So, for example, if a Berserker sees you in a protected frontal guard, and he doesn't want to risk using Weakling Hunt on you because it is maybe he thinks he can get punished or something, they can always do something like move around, Predatory Hunt, and then boom, straight into their Shift Q. This is immediately going into an SA option, is immediately a 360 stun, and because it is such a fast connection out of their WF dash, it is very desyncy on your end, and a lot of the time you're not even going to be able to see it coming until it already happens, especially if you are a higher ping player. So keep that in mind while you're fighting Succession Berserker, a very strong option. Once the skill is on 100%, it is a 36 hit stun. Yeah, it is 36 hits of back-to-back stun. On top of that, it is a heal. So if it's not OP enough already, it is a heal. It also is a minus 30% movement speed debuff, and it gives them plus 20 DP on using the skill. So basically, when they use this, they're healing. This is not only the 100% version, this is the base version. They're healing. It is a multi-hit stun, both in the base version and the prime version. And then on top of that, they're getting DP debuffs. They're getting a lot of stats in return. On top of that, I'm going to go through these ones really quick. I'm not really going to cover them. There's Beast Roar, Wrath of the Beast, and Ire of the Beast. These are basically just downgraded versions of Fearsome Tyrant. Beast Roar is essentially just a singular standstill heal skill. It doesn't have a CC. It doesn't really have anything. And when they're trying to exit it, it takes them a long time. You can see how long they're locked in the ending animation. If you ever see a Berserker use this ability, this is a free grab. I'm just going to be honest with you. This is also free damage. They're really stuck there. So if a Berserker uses this in neutral, it either is just because they're healing and they're kind of stuck there, or maybe they're not sure what they're doing. As for Wrath of the Beast, it is essentially the same thing, except Wrath of the Beast is a frontal guard heal, and then it also has an extension with LMB into Ire of the Beast. This one is a little bit tricky because Wrath of the Beast is stiffness on hits, and Ire of the Beast is a bound on hit. So you can technically get CC'd while trying to punish this. However, due to it being frontal guard and being very stationary and then being stuck in the animation for a while, this is, again, something that you should look at as a free punish. Just be a little bit careful, but definitely a free punish and something that you can try to, you know, kind of quickly get into. A lot of Berserkers, they will try and kite away as far as possible really, really fast before using the skill. So far, we have talked about 1, 2, 3, 4 heal skills that they have. And these are massive heal skills. 350 HP every 1 second while transformed. 350 HP, 350 HP, 350 HP. And then on top of that, we also have Wailing Beast, which is another 350 HP heal skill, which is super armor. This is the one you're going to see them use a lot more in the neutral game. This is their Shift 0 bomb skill. This is what it looks like. It is a Shift 0 bomb. Boom, just a quick heal that they're going to use in neutral game. You're going to see a lot of players use this. I use this myself a lot. This is also another free grab option. They're kind of stuck in the animation for a little bit decent amount of time, so something you can look to punish. And then finally, now that my Shift Q is on cooldown, I want to show you guys what this looks like. You can do Shift Q, and then basically you can sit in it and heal for a while. So yeah, they have 5 heal skills. Yeah. And then now that we've covered these, good God, that is a lot of skills. I want to talk about their combo game, and then I want to talk about their neutral game and show you guys a general gist of what it is going to look like. A general Berserker combo, something that you're going to see a lot in Berserker combos. You're going to see these main skills. Basically, they're going to do something like a grab. They're going to do their AP buff, a stiffen. These are their debuffs. And then they're going to do a KD. This is their 1v1 combo. So essentially, after they do... I somehow got resisted. I'm a dummy. That's a great game. All right, we'll walk through this one. After they do their boom, 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 they can do their damage, and they can go immediately into their spin. So the spin, we're going to talk about it really quick. It's not really something that I want to cover too much because it's super basic. Raging Thunder is basically just a spin, a damage ability. It has 61 hits, a lot of hits. It is actually a decently tricky ability to grab because they can move around while they're doing it, and your grab can desync really easily. But it is basically just a damage skill. There's nothing else to it. There's no debuffs. There's nothing like that. The only notable thing on this ability is that it is 0 crit. So the more crit they have throughout their kit, basically when they pop this and get 30% crit, when they pop their add-ons and get another 30% crit, when they pop their Unstoppable Beast and they get more crit, it basically gives Raging Thunder a lot more damage and a lot more output potential. If you're a range class, this skill is free damage chip for you, to be honest. When they're using this skill, they have to wait a little bit before they can exit. So I'm going to try to cancel it, and then they're in it for a little bit before they can cancel. And on top of that, it can bug out sometimes on the cancel out if it like messes up or something. So it is something that you can look for. And then finally, after that, as for what I did in the combo, I want to talk about this really quickly. We'll go through these ones really fast. A Succession Berserker and Awakening Berserker have extremely high accuracy rates. And the reason for that is, as I did in this combo here, in this 1v1 combo, they can do this little stomp, and then they can do this little headbutt. Now, the headbutt is a KD, and the stomp is a stiffen. Storming Beast, the stomp, when they do it, is a minus 12% evasion rate for 10 seconds on hit debuff, on top of being a 20% a cast, attack speed, movement speed slow. And then right after, when they do headbutt, headbutt is a plus 15% accuracy rate buff. It is melee accuracy rate. Don't be deceived. All that means is that for Berserker, he just gets plus 15% melee accuracy rates. It's basically it's the same thing. So it is also a KD. So they're going to do the shift R&B version. That's what it looks like. It's like this, and then they can cancel out of it. So then go like boom, and then go into Lava Piercer or something. Now, in group play, they're not really going to use headbutt. It's not necessarily the best option. What they're going to use in group play generally is they're going to use Ancient Wave, that KD I used earlier. So in group play, they're going to do something like boom, boom, and then they'll do like KD, Claw Strike for the buff, and then they'll attack you. That's generally the group play combo. So that's why a lot of people say, oh, Succession Berserker doesn't have the best accuracy rate in group play, is because while these buffs are super easy to get out in small scale and 1v1s, in group play, like 3v3s, AOS, large scale, you can't really do them. It takes too long. You're too unprotected. They're completely unprotected. So you're not really going to see these too often unless the Berserker sees a safe opportunity. And then right after that, is there anything else I need to mention? That's pretty much basically the combo. Yeah, that's basically the combo. Frenzy Destroyer, the first hit. This is just an AP buff. There's no CC on it. I think you can add Quaking Fury for it to be a on last hit Frenzy Destroyer. So if you do this, that's a bound, but you don't really use this, to be honest. Yeah, you don't really use this, so you don't really need to worry about it. This is just an AP buff. If you see a Berserker do a combo and he does this, that's a punish. That's just a straight punish. It's just completely unprotected. Yeah, that's pretty much it for most of the main abilities. Let's talk about Devastation. Devastation is their neutral game slow. This is what it looks like. You guys have seen this probably plenty of times. Massive AoE slow. Don't think it's a vacuum. That's only in PvE. These are PvE, technically dummies. So it is a PvE stun and a PvE vacuum, I guess, but that's not for PvP. In PvP, this is just a multi-hit, massive AoE slow. You can see the AoE is pretty decently big. And is a very long Linger Super Armor. This is somewhat of a grab punish. So if you're a grab class, this is a punish you can look for. But it is kind of tricky. So what a lot of Berserkers will do is they will try to greet it and go for the full duration slow. They'll like wait it out and then they'll move. But technically when you do Devastation, you don't have to sit in it. A lot of Berserkers will sit in it, but you don't have to sit in it. So a Berserker can do something like, oh, they'll do Devastation, and then they can just immediately hold Lava Piercer and get the fuck out. You can do the same thing with Shake Off and other skills as well. So Devastation, it is a punish in neutral game for grab classes. It is a damage trade skill for range classes once they're far enough away. It is basically a standstill opening on a class that has a lot of mobility and something that you need to pay attention for, especially if you're a melee class and a range class, honestly both. Because the Berserker is going to want to try to land this on you so that he can gap close you a lot easier. Slows are super important. Something for all of us to dodge and all of that. So make sure you guys look for it. And then finally, I've been mentioning it multiple times now. I didn't actually mention it. Like clearly though, Shake Off. Shake Off, this is their iframe. Yeah. It is a 3-second cooldown. You would expect a class with this much mobility, stat padding, damage, and everything to not have such a short cooldown iframe. But yeah, Shake Off is a 3-second long iframe. And on top of that, Shake Off is a linger iframe. Boom, look at this. Look at how long this thing lingers. You can just sit in it. Is that not crazy? Am I the only one? Yeah. Yeah, it's a bit of a crazy skill. As for the bomb skills, I already mentioned one of them. The other two I want to mention, something that this will actually apply to Awakening Berserker as well. So if you guys wanted to learn about Awakening Berserker, this is a really important skill for them. This is called Feral Stampede. Feral Stampede, this is a multi-hit, 18-hit stiffen that they can mouse move with a 30% movement speed debuff on it, and it will CC check and hit rate check the ever-living crap out of you. They can use this really easily. They can, the Zerkers can basically just do Lava Piercer and boom, they will just CC check the shit out of you. And since the AoE on this skill is actually so big, let me change my effects here. You guys have probably been blinded this whole time. I'm sorry about that. Because of how this ability works, it actually has a pretty large AoE. So I can go like this, and you will just, you know, you'll just check people really easily, and they can go forward and back, they can go whatever direction they want because it is a mouse move skill, so they can protect themselves by doing something like this, and they can CC check you. The Feral Stampede is something to look out for. As for the third Rabomb, I'm not really going to mention it. It is just a float Rabomb. They can use this in neutral, like that. They can just do a real quick float. But it's not really worth mentioning. They don't really use this in succession. It is maybe more of an awakening thing, and even then, I don't know. At most, personally, I just use this as a movement speed buff. If I want to get a float like this, I usually would just use my RMB because this is unprotected. So, yeah. And yeah, let me see if there's anything else I missed. I didn't mention Falling Rock. Ooh, I forgot about this one. Last thing I'll mention, probably is this one. Falling Rock, this is in relation to Predatory Hunt. Predatory Hunt is basically the skill that I mentioned earlier, the you know, jumping around thing. What they can do during Predatory Hunt is they can hit LMB at any point. So while I said it's a, you know, it's only a CC on that last hit there, what they can do is they can hit LMB at any point during the animation, early or whatever, and they can immediately land down with a bound. That's what this is. So Zerkers on Succession Zerker can use this in combos and do something, and this is a crit buff for them. Basically, they'll put a tier 3 add-on on this. It'll give them, it'll also give them their beast mode, so they get another 30% and everything. What Zerkers can do is they can do something like a grab into a KD into this, and then spin, so that their spin does more crit damage and everything. That is basically what Zerkers can do. On top of this, they can technically check you with a CC on this in neutral games. So if they're doing a Predatory Hunt like this, they can immediately just, boom, if they see a gap or something, they can land on you and try to CC you. I know a lot of EU Zerkers will use this a lot, like Rambo and stuff. So this is also something you can look for as something you need to be afraid of. It is not really a punish, though, because they can exit out of it really quickly. You would expect this to be a longer punish timing, considering it is a very hard commit SACC bound. But yeah, it is a very fast exit for them. They can just really quickly, boom, get out. So not really something you can punish. I think the last thing I just need to cover is just their time to rock. This is a gap, something you can look forward to punish. Time to rock is a neutral game skill that they will use as a backdash. So really quick, boom, just a quick backdash like that. You guys have probably seen this a lot. Both Awakening and Succession Zerker will use this. It is a frontal guard. It is a really weird skill to CC because it does move them backwards, so it can be kind of hard to catch. They can use this at any point in their neutral skills, and it also in Awakening and Succession can connect into other skills. So in Awakening, I believe you can use this as like a really fast backdash out of some Awakening skills, or connect into certain things for damage, etc., etc. If you want to see how this looked in neutral game, you can do they can do something like, oh, damage, trading, shake off, move around, and then they'll time to rock like this. Something like that. They can basically just keep moving around and, you know, do damage trades with it, and kind of go for something. So yeah, that's basically Zerker. There's a time to rock. Okay, they're still moving. So it gives them a lot of options. And if you want to see what the Zerker neutral game looks like, it is basically something like this. Moving around, moving around. So yeah. Oh, there is technically one more thing. You see, this is the problem with no script. The last thing I wanted to mention, Raging Thunder. I said the skill isn't very special because it is just a damage ability. There is one more thing to it, but the reason I didn't really think about it is because it's not used too often. Basically, Raging Thunder in the Prime version, they can do a direction with LMB and RMB, the input, to do this version. Oh, I think it bugs out on these mobs. There you go. And it is a KD. This is a knockdown. The reason I didn't really bring this up is because this is really risky for them to use, because you can see how unprotected this is. And they're kind of really stuck in the animation, right? So it is a very hard commit, unprotected KD skill that they can use. If you see a Berserker using this skill, it is a free punish. It's a gap full KD. You might see this in 1v1s more than anything, but at that point you're already CC'd. In group play though, you're not really going to see this much. But do not be deceived by the AoE. The AoE on the skill is very ridiculous. It goes like all the way 360 around them, behind them, and yeah, it's pretty stupid because they can spam it constantly. It is a no cooldown KD. But yeah, it is unprotected. You're not really going to see this in group play too often. So with that said, that is pretty much everything I wanted to cover. There's not really much else. If there is anything else, you guys are free to check the description. And with that said, hope you guys all have a great day. Have fun fighting Succession Berserker. I know I don't. And yeah, hope you guys all have a great day. Bye-bye, boys. Later.